You know who's playing that guitar? It's the Red Zone. We're ready to rock and roll and score some more touchdowns with this panel. Look at this panel all the way around. I won't even tell you. Some people are in a different part of the world right now. Josh Tovar, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA. Welcoming everybody to this awesome round table, making sure that we take out those tools, learn from each other as we close this chapter known as 22-23 and getting ready into 23-24. Let's learn from each other. So it doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're in Alaska, whether you're in Hawaii, whether you're in Maine or Florida or anywhere in the 48 middle. Come and join us tonight. If you see it on the rebroadcast, like it and share it because we're all in it together and we're only stronger together. What do you think about that, Dean?
Josh, I can never match your energy, but it's a real pleasure to be with the panel we have here tonight. And there's no doubt that Thursday nights, when we start seeking these individuals out there who are smarter than us, Josh, I'm telling you right now, and live it each and every day, it just makes these nights a lot of fun because what it does, it validates what we do. And more importantly, it can give you tools to be a little bit better at what you do each and every day. My name is Dean Packard, one of the co-founders of Unlock the Middle, and I'm just so pleased to be here twice a week, Josh. Twice a week we do this just to bring content to other educators and leaders across the country. And it's such a fun thing. So, hey, that's enough about us. You've already said everything that's important. Let's go around the table very quickly. And in 20 seconds, introduce yourself, where you're from, and what you do. Okay, ready? Andrew, you're up first.
All right. Hey, Josh and Dean, thanks for having me here tonight. I'm having a little bit of light problems here. I'm in Virginia, Northern Virginia. It's 9 p.m. here at night. I'm losing a little bit of my light. I'll work on that. I'm a principal for over 20, almost 25 years doing this job, and I love it. Love it still. I was a fourth grade teacher, site-based gifted teacher, assistant principal for about a year, and then principal. So I'm happy to be here today. Thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. Great stuff. Chris.
Yeah, Chris Mason. I am at Quitman ISD, a little town in East Texas. This is the end of my 19th year in education. Have been a history teacher and coach for 10 of that, through sixth grade all the way up through 12th grade history. I've taught them all. The only thing I haven't coached is girls soccer. That's the easiest way to go through that list. Was a junior high principal for a few years and then a high school principal. And then I always like to joke I was assistant to a superintendent. So I was an assistant superintendent the last 5 years and have now been a superintendent since January 1 of this year. So
we call that an inside the park home run in education, man. Touched all the bases. Great stuff right there. Tara, welcome to the show, Chris.
Hi, everyone. Dean, Josh, thank you so much for having me. I have been in education for 15 years. 8 of that was as a classroom teacher in grades 3 to 8, teaching everything from science, math, social studies, English language arts to all sorts of students. And that gave me a wealth of experience to start going into administration, where I've mainly been in curriculum and instruction, either as a director of curriculum and now as an assistant superintendent of teaching and learning.
Great stuff right there. Up the ladder you go, Tara. Welcome to the show. Roy, welcome, my friend.
All right, thank you for having me, and I'm happy to be a part of this wonderful, experienced panel. But again, Roy Pope. I'm currently located in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. CEO of my own ed tech company, Ed Guru. Before that, 28 years in education. Did everything from AP to assistant principal to a few things, central office. So I think I've kind of done it all. So just kind of enjoying this ride now.
Well, this is a first for us from Dubai. I love that. I don't think we've ever had anybody on. So we're going to mark that down as a definite first. So welcome to the show, Roy. It's great stuff. You guys all have great stories about where you've gotten to. So it's real important that everybody just listen out there and see you can become anything you want in education if you just keep on digging and keep plugging. Josh, take it away. You're on mute, my friend. You followed your own rules. You muted yourself.
I'm like
first time ever.
So pre-COVID right now, brother. I just showed my rookiness. Hey, guys, right now in the beautiful field that we're at, we always look for inspiration, right? So, Tara, who inspires you? Who motivates you? Who's your role model in education? Tell the boys.
Josh, hold on one second. We have Todd coming in right now. Todd has made the game. He's a game time decision maker. He's in. Todd, welcome back. Nice to see you. Todd, why don't you tell everybody about who you are, what you've done, and how you've gotten to where you are today?
Can you guys hear me?
Perfectly.
I'm so sorry. We lost a playoff baseball game tonight. Riding home, I realized I forgot my computer. Probably yelled at all my kids. So not dad of the year tonight. So I apologize for that. Todd Bloomer, high school principal, San Antonio, Texas. Winston Churchill High School, about 2,600 kids. Great campus, very diverse community in a beautiful city. 27 years in education. Energized and excited to be with you guys tonight. So sorry about being late. Apologize for that. My father would kill me if he knew I was late. And so I'm ready. I'm excited to be here. So thank you guys.
You got it.
All
No
good,
worries.
Todd. You just owe us 3 stadiums when you're done, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Tara, who's your role model in education? Who inspires you? Who inspired you?
Well, who inspired me? I was very fortunate to have some great teachers who really took interest in me and made sure that I learned, because where I went to school in the suburbs of Chicago, I was the only minority student in the class. And so they made sure that I felt accepted and welcomed. And those are the teachers I always try to strive to be, as not only when I was a teacher, but as an administrator. But who inspires me every day are the children. And I am in an elementary district from preschool to 8th grade. And so it's the 3-year-olds all the way to the 13-year-olds that inspires me. So every day I try to do my best for them, because I want them to be the best when they grow up.
Love it. Roy, who inspired you? Who's your role model?
Well, I have a couple. The first, of course, being my mom, single parent, raised me from all of us. My father passed when I was 2 years old. So she may not have had a college degree, but she wanted all of us to pursue education. She held us to high standards. She believes in hard work and respect, and you going hard. And I still remember one thing she did for us, which is bought a set of encyclopedias. When you can't go too far away from the house. You have those rules, and you don't understand them as you're growing up. But I was able to travel the world by reading those encyclopedias from beginning to end. And that was a motivation for me and what she instilled in us. Second, of course, my wife, she has 26 years in education, and she's the yin to my yang. We balance each other out. Wives they are perfect, and they give wonderful advice. And then the third, again, being the educators that are around me, because even though I have a PhD, I always tell people jokingly, a PhD to me means please help the doctor. Look out for me, guide me in the right direction, give me advice, and let's move on with it.
Chris, talk to us. Role model.
Yeah, a couple. When I was younger, I had a U.S. history teacher that taught honors history named Miss Scott, who was awesome and let me fall in love with history and just learning. And then a coach named Coach Dennis Pate, who kind of probably put me on the trajectory of dooming me to be an educator. Right? He had the hooks in me, and I got to be a coach as a senior and before I got graduated. And then, in my process, got hooked up with a head coach who was fantastic named Randy Jackson. And he did a fantastic job of letting me understand as a young guy and a young teacher that it was okay to try to be the very best you could be, and understanding that a lot of times that makes people uncomfortable, and your job is to help them get over that and come along for the ride. So, and then just like you guys talked about, other great leaders that I get to run into every day. We're a small school, 1,200 kids. I've got 2 ladies in my central office that help me with curriculum instruction and special programs. But more than that, they're just awesome to be able to talk with. And, when you may be having a down day, they're there to pick you up. And then just like Dr. Christoph said, getting around kids and getting to sit through a lunch duty or going to recess and realizing that's your why. And you stand up and do a lot of things you might not want to do or have to do. And that's why, because those kids deserve it, and they need somebody to stand up and be their voice and help them get opportunities.
Andrew.
Like Roy, my mom, single mother raising us. She had a big focus on education. Once she even retired from working in the medical field, she went and substituted. So always had that kind of role model. For becoming a principal, I've just been lucky. I worked with such great principals during that time, and taking something for each one of them. They've all inspired me to want to be the best principal, and the students, the staff at our schools, but also my own kids. They went through my elementary school when I was principal as students. So I know that I wanted to do my best in education for them as well.
Thank you for sharing.
Both my parents were educators. So growing up, family business. Out of college, I moved from New York to Houston, Texas. So stood on my own 2 feet for, my own first time at 22. Lucked into teaching and coaching. Met some great mentors as coaches. That really inspired me and motivated me and really showed me the right way. And to be honest with you, if I wouldn't have met them, I wouldn't have stayed in education. Met my wife, moved to San Antonio, got around some other great coaches, football, baseball, basketball, you name it. And ended up going back to school, get my administrative degree, and then just really tried my best to always, sit with winners. It's a cliche of Nick Saban or somebody, but always be around people that are better than you, listen to them, glean from them. And pretty soon their habits start rubbing off on you. Became an assistant principal, a principal. So from my parents to the coaches, to the people I'm around, still to the people I'm with today.
Thank you for sharing. Good.
All right, guys. Now I'm looking at 2023 coming in this year, and obviously starting the year, we all had our goals. We're all rocking towards it, and I want to ask each and every one of you, how is 2023 going for you right now? How many pivots had you had to make? How many adjustments did you have to make for yourself to step back and empower the people around you? And remember that we're in a people business, and you know what? It's one of the hardest things to do when you sit at an upper level leadership role, because you want to move the needle. But you have to remember all the time that people are at our mercy. We have to make sure that they feel comfortable, that they're balanced, and that we're there for them to support them. So with that being said, Tara, why don't you start off first? Head of teaching and learning in your district is a hard thing to do because teachers are at a tough point.
Yeah, I will say this year is going a lot better than the last couple years. I would say the minute COVID hit and school shut down, my job completely changed in 24 hours than I've ever known it in my whole life. And this is my 8th year doing curriculum instruction. My goals this year were to implement co-teaching, because what we were seeing is a huge equity gap in our district between non-IEP students and IEP students. And the other one was to implement an SEL curriculum. And those I was able to do. But you're right, Dean, about walking that very fine line between pushing staff too much and making sure that they have enough so they'll move with you. And that is a hard line. You have to read your staff very, very closely. And that includes building principals, as well as teachers, and as well as paraprofessionals. So it's learning how to push, but then pull back, push, then pull back, push, then pull back. And it is a very, very hard line, but if they trust you, they'll move with you. And that's probably the most important advice I can give any teacher, any administrator, anyone thinking about going into administration, is it's all about the relationships.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, and trust is at the cornerstone of everything that we do. Speaking about coaching, Chris, let's go up to you next, because that coaching experience, and I always say as a leader, I wish I had time to be an instructional coach all the time instead of a fireman putting out fires and dealing with people outside of our building. But at the end of the day, that coaching element is huge. How about you, Chris? Where are you at with 2023?
Yeah, so in Texas, we've got about 3 weeks left, so we are home stretching. So for us, it's kind of casting vision for next year. A big push for us has really been focusing on our teachers. We are in a wonderful legislative session here in Texas, which means they're trying to determine if they're going to give us any money or not. And it's been a lot of challenges, and I think what she talked about earlier is it's trying to let our teachers know that they can trust us, and that we are here for them. And really, the big push all semester long for us has been letting teachers be teachers. And the first thing I did the week one was ask them what they needed to stop doing so they could just be teachers. And we took some stuff off their plates, and they're going to continue to try to do that and let them be teachers. And we're being a little progressive in our scheduling next year and casting that vision of, hey, if our teachers tell us they need more time, then it's our jobs as the administrative team to find that time for them. And it may not be as comfortable for us because it's new or different, but we're going to dive in and take care of our people. Our teachers are our front line, and if they're not taken care of, then they can't take care of kids. And that's our job, is to check their feet and make sure they're all right. So
love that. That's a great barometer right there of what's important in schools, that culture and that climate. Andrew.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought this year was a real challenging year. Obviously, not the same as our COVID years, but coming back and the reactions that we have to respond to at the school levels and at the school division as well. I think, and from talking to colleagues throughout the state and the country, I know that a lot of people have those similar challenges. I think everybody was reacting, and from politicians, legislators to superintendents, school boards, and it made it challenging at the ground level at the schools. I felt like we were giving the teachers a lot. I would have ideally liked to have come in and been able to just say, let's just get everyone together. Let's just go. It's generally a fairly normal start to the year finally, so we could have done it, but unfortunately we were putting a lot of other things in place. So that's made it challenging. I think what we've tried to do is as Tina said, Tara said, is taking, is connecting to others, and what Chris said, taking things off people's plates, whatever you can do to kind of continue to build those relationships with others. The more we were able to try to take away from teachers, the better. I know they were very overwhelmed. We're also facing, I assume you all are as well, facing big teacher shortage. And it seemed like perhaps the wrong approach going into it. So I feel like maybe we're trying to correct that thing in our country, and remembering, we need to be there and support our teachers and continue to see what we can do to take things a little bit away from them. So it's challenging. So we're planning for next year, trying to see again what I could take away. If I could take away a meeting, we took away a meeting, cancel many staff meetings, try to connect in different ways, try to use some of the things like Zoom, Google Meets that we may have used during COVID to maybe reduce some of their returning, evening meetings. So hoping to continue that. Really want it to be something, just as we're focusing on the social emotional needs of all our students. I think we just need to continue to keep that in mind for teachers and staff. You talk to a lot of people in the community. Many people are still at home, which is surprising, and working from home. And it's, it does, not everybody has returned to normal like we all have. It's been business for usual for us, or not usual, but business back in the workplace pretty early on. So for going forward, we're looking at trying to wrap up this year in a positive way. It's as we got through spring, definitely see a lot more positive. We're getting kind of back into the flow of things, but really trying to build up their excitement for next year and come on back.
I love you touched upon the one thing that teachers love, because you can't increase their pay. You gave them time. You took away a meeting. Guess what? That's like Christmas for some of these people. There's no doubt about it. So good move right there. Roy, you're up.
All right. Well, I have a strong background in preparing teachers or working with teachers and administrators. So I'm kind of talking from a business perspective, since I've transitioned from a school-based administrator to business in education. So our goals for 2023, we're on track where we need to be. With business, it's you're looking at, I love learning, so looking at marketing strategies, sales funnels, all of those things that are outside of a traditional educational degree, new skills. Those I just love reading and studying that. So we're perfecting those things, automating things, so things are moving along really good. we made a lot of pivots. One was, for example, with the online teaching process. When COVID hit, it kind of caught a number of us off guard. And one thing that I was searching for was, what does the ideal online teaching flow look like? Because I don't think you can go out there and just ask teachers to do it without giving them a model. But then as I was researching personally, me and my wife, we had a hard time locating that. So, that kind of led us down a different road to pivot and to create those kind of systems, those kind of resources that were in alignment with what teachers are needing, online teaching strategies. There wasn't a lot out there for that. Agreeing with Tara, talked about relationships. Relationships are really important, and some of the same skill sets in traditional school or district apply to business. You want to have those relationships with the individuals you're working with. It's a people business also. So I'm very keen to listening to what the people that we're working with are saying they need and what works best. Again, that flexibility that you have in the school setting or in the district, you have to have that same level of flexibility in business. So that's kind of how we pivoted, and that's where we at with it, with the business.
I love it right there, Roy. Good stuff right there. Todd, you're up.
I just think the job keeps getting harder and harder as a building principal. It is every day something new. They don't prepare us to be a principal pre-COVID, and definitely didn't prepare us to be a principal post-COVID. Enormous teacher shortage in Texas. Really worried about what the next 5 or 10 years is going to look like. So when you talk about what does 2023 look like for me, my job has really shifted from being that instructional leader, which I want to be, to being a headhunter for people, to being a safety and security auditor, for what I need, to building relationships with teachers, to being visible with what's going on. And I think the biggest shift, at least and Chris, you kind of mentioned it, is I'm now involved in advocacy. And I think the principalship has evolved until now. If we're not an advocate at the state level for what's going on, I think we're missing the boat. On top of everything else we're doing, from evaluations to, hiring teachers to building safety and security. I think if we're not talking to our legislative members on a regular basis about what is relevant and pertinent to us, I think we're missing the boat. And so this year I've taken just an extreme, I'll say nerdy excitement about just reaching out to legislators, members of the House, members of the Senate, and speaking with them about life as an educator, and really trying to find points of convergence where whether you're a D or you're an R, whether you're pro public ed or you're pro vouchers, is trying to find out, where can we converge to where we can help each other. Because, gone are the days, I think, of voting straight party ticket. And I think now more than ever, the educators need to band together and really make our voice heard. If educators voted as a block, we would rule every election. And I think that would help us so much for what's going on in 2023. In the state of Texas, we got unfunded mandates that are coming down that are making our job more and more difficult, from people that were in school in the 1970s and 80s, pre-COVID, and in a day and age where education was totally different. I think we'll all agree, the education today is unlike it's ever been before. And we're doing great work for it. But I think really what has really changed in 2023 is my job as the CEO of a small town of people that I run, is I'm an advocate. I'm reaching out and I'm advocating. I'm sharing points of convergence, and I'm really trying to network and build with people so that our teachers can be taken care of. And I think in a really neat way, my teachers look up to me because I'm advocating for them. They know I'm fighting in Austin. They know I'm fighting on social media. Now, whether my voice is heard or not, I'm one of a few, but if we all banded together, I think we'd be, quite the wrecking force as far as legislative sessions go.
I just wanted to ask a question about that. And I love the fact that you have that advocacy for the group, that and the passion for the job that you do. How does that fall upon the ears of the legislators? Help me with that, because, we have to do it here too. And I get listening, and then I get action as a result of listening. And if you don't have numbers, again, we can print money as much as you want. At the end of the day, we can work in deficits all you want. But you said it, unfunded mandates come our way. What are you supposed to do? I mean, we look at operating budgets in schools at this point in time where it's like driving a car. You have no rubber left on the wheels. You're paying for salaries and health insurance. Oh, by the way, you got 5% left to support everything else you do in your district. Good luck. Good luck. It doesn't happen. It's an antiquated formula. So I guess my direct question for you guys who are working directly with your legislators, how's it working?
So I'll share this, and I won't dominate the conversation because I could talk legislative updates, policy, and procedure all the rest of the evening. I think I've taken a shift in how I talk and how I address my elected officials. Yep. And you used to threaten, I'm going to vote you out of office and wag that finger. Well, nobody listens to that. No. I think people listen for selfish reasons. How can I help you? And so when we're talking about areas of public ed, private ed, vouchers, you name that, I think people are looking for ways that they could have somebody that could be a voice on the ground, boots on the ground. And so I've really shifted my mindset when I talk to legislative members is to say, here's where I think I can help you. As we're talking about some of these unfunded mandates, let me explain exactly what's that going to do for us in our public school. Let me explain what that's going to do to our kids, to our teachers, which are leaving in droves. So your unfunded mandate is making teachers leave. And so I really think that a lot of legislative members, at least in Texas and at least in San Antonio, have been receptive to having those conversations. I've been to the state capitol 3 times in this legislative session. I've met with people starting at Christmas, having coffee with people, sending emails, sending thank you notes. I really think that's our next step. And then I encourage my friends and my colleagues to do the same thing. Not everybody does it, but if you continue to do that and continue to reach out, I was so surprised the number of people that responded back to my phone calls, my emails, or my texts. And like they really do. Now, what they do with that information, that's my next hurdle. But the number of people that reached out and were like, really like, hey, let's talk. Are you going to be in Austin? Stop by my office. Really is encouraging because I think as more and more educators become involved and realize like, hey, wait a sec, we can't do this. I think more and more people are going to have to realize and they're going to have to listen to what we're doing.
Well said. I love that approach because, quite frankly, that's probably a real smart way to look at all of this. And at the end of the day, we need pathways, we need ripples, we need momentum. And without all that stuff, you just don't get anywhere. So
yeah, I would piggyback off on that and just say most of our legislators are just uninformed as to what's happening in public ed, and it's probably in the states and places you're sitting, they just don't know. So when they get bills put in front of them, they don't understand. They just think, oh, this is good because it's in front of me. And it's our job to make sure that they understand, no, hey, that's actually really bad for kids. Public ed is a lifeline in Texas. And, if they grew up like me and we're adding water to the ketchup, they need a good public school and they need somebody to advocate for them. And when you take these things and you go, well, if we take $100 per kid away from your allotment, that's not a big deal. It's our job to go, no, that's a huge deal. That might be 4 teacher salaries that we now have to kind of absorb or try to figure out what to do with. And so it's just trying to get in front of them and educating them. It's a lot of boots on the ground of getting to know their advisors, who's in charge of their education platform, and calling and building those relationships like anything else so that they know they're going to pick up the phone because I'm going to talk to them like a real person and not wag my finger at and yell at them. They know that I have a good, solid opinion and I'm talking to them because I want them to know and be informed to make good decisions.
I'm going to say in Illinois, we also have unfunded mandates. This is a nationwide thing. And for us, for those of us who don't have the time for us at Springfield, to go to Springfield and to meet with our legislators, we do simple things such as pay attention to when certain committee hearings are done, and we file witness slips because they may not pay attention to our texts or phone calls, but they do pay attention to those witness slips, pro or against certain things coming down. So that would be my advice, that if you don't have the time, doing a witness slip takes all of 5 seconds and paying attention to what the legislators are hearing in committee, because those become law if we don't pay attention to them as well.
Yeah, I want to add the same thing. One of the things that I found great to build relationships with them is to invite them to your school. Some of them love to come there, take some pictures, photo moments, and wait for them to see what's happening in the school. But I over the years, just working with them in the state, probably more so than with the federal, is how they aren't informed. that they hear a great idea, sounds good, and I think as administrators, we have such a great perspective on saying this is the impact to schools. This is the impact to students. I think some of the other groups that are part of education, they might be looking at a specific group, teacher group, parent group, but we're looking at what's best for schools. So I really advocate to them to reach out to us as principals, reach out to us as district leaders, because we can give them the it's not going to be what's best for me sometimes, but what's really best for kids in the school. But inviting them to your school has been a great thing for us.
Thank you. I want to hear from Roy now.
Just sharing something from an international perspective. I've been in Dubai for about 10 years now. So when I first came here, of course, I was in the I was in the school system here. So it's a little different where you have, it's unbelievable the level of access you have to people that are in a ruling family, or to some of the sheikhs or the director general of this or whatever. You can easily, you have their personal numbers where you can just send them a WhatsApp message or a text message. So they try to make themselves readily available. And they do a lot of round like hearing sessions where they're inviting people in from students to teachers to administrators, which I like. And then from there, that's how they kind of roll out policy. So I guess that whole concept of distributed leadership that we look at within a school system or within a school, looking at it from a governmental perspective, I was happy to see that and to see things, see that everyone has a loud voice, that they can make positive strides based off of the feedback from all of us.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading into the last lap of this awesome Red Zone show. It's the season of, please tell us a little bit about yourself. It's that interview season. And you know what? Our team members in the classroom are becoming free agents right now, right? Because of all the need that we have. So let me throw this out there. Let's use that experience and address two types of individuals. We're going to be asked to be part of committees with central office and on our campus. So what two items, how many? 2 items can you give a teacher, prospective teacher, when they go to the committee for the campus, and 2 items for a district level position? 2 for the campus, 2 for the district, because right now all those interviews are taking place, correct? Todd.
Okay, so let me just clarify. Basically 2 pieces of advice for a teacher and then central office. Okay, all right. Teacher, easy. That's all I'm doing these last 4 weeks of school is teacher interviews. Authenticity, like authenticity to loving students and specifically loving my campus. A million schools in San Antonio, a desire to want to be at Churchill High School, a desire to work with kids that are middle of the road. A full microcosm of the city of San Antonio is important to me. So authenticity about working with kids, realizing that kids are kids, they're going to make mistakes, they're not going to do homework, they're not going to want to show up, and you're just going to love kids, and you understand that. And we don't have any time for any negativity or any of that. And so really just showing up. So authenticity or for that, and then doing some research on my campus and on my community, and knowing kind of what we have and knowing what you're signing up for would be really what I want to say for that. I'll tell you what, most of y'all know this, but in the teacher shortage, I've really taken a stance on trying to recruit former students to come back. And that's been our mantra, to say, if you went to Churchill, I want you to come back. Every speech I give, every graduation speech, every time I say, in 4 years, you come back and I'll hire you. And so, that's extra bonus points if you were there because you had a good experience. Now you want to come back. If you want to go to central office, I'd say, remember what it was like to be, as a principal. And the only way to do that is to start every day on a different campus and to start every day at walking alongside the principal. If you walk alongside me, you'll see why I may not get back to you right away, or why my report may not be turned in until the end of the day, or why, because I'm triaging every single thing I do. And every time I turn around, I'm dealing with something. And that's the energizing thing about what I do on my job. And so I'd say, really, if you're going to central office, I'd start every day. If I went central office, if I could, I wouldn't start any day before 9:30. Every day I'd start on a campus, and I'd come into the office at 9:30, and that would be my day. And I think that would give, just really some credibility to your principals that you're working with, to people that you're working with, and to what you're doing. Second of all, I just be a good listener. Like my boss is great. My direct supervisor is wonderful. I can call him and kind of ramble, and he'll listen and he'll give me great advice. And so really walking alongside of me and then just being a good listener is what I would say for the advice to go to central office.
Thank you, Roy.
All right. My piece is a few, I guess, nuggets of knowledge. From a campus perspective, I think having relationships is really important. You have to have that skill set, whether you are relating to the parents, the students, the teachers, central office. So that should be a strong skill set of yours. If not, make sure that you work on it to improve that for sure. It'll help you in those sticky situations that we all encounter in the business. And then the second thing, make sure that you just understand instruction, because when the rubber meets the road, what we're looking at is how are we best educating children and preparing them academically, socially, how are we equipping them with those skills. So just make sure you understand instruction, not only within your subject area, if you're an English teacher, but make sure you understand what systems look like, whether it's chemistry, biology, physics, or whatever. From a central office perspective, my nuggets of knowledge would be make sure you research the position, make sure you know what's entailed in the position, and make sure you have a plan, a walk-in plan. You shouldn't just kind of walk in the first day and kind of don't know whether you're going left or right. You have to have a general sense of direction. And then that comes from just getting some feedback from people that are around you that have been in the position before or whatever. And secondly, don't lose touch with the people that are implementing these systems, the teachers, teacher assistants. Don't let the paperwork slow you down, because we all know this is a paperwork business. But again, the important thing is student achievement, student skills, and helping and preparing our teachers.
Andrew.
Yeah, very similar to what you all have been saying. Great responses so far. For hiring administrator at the campus level, looking for that relationships and that they haven't forgotten what it was like to be a teacher. I think one of the things that we want our principals to remember is what don't forget what it's like to met in the classroom. I also want to see a passion for this career, this job that are doing. And I would say very similar to what I would look for in central office. Also to look at making sure, again, building those relationships with all the stakeholders and not forgetting what I think someone has said it earlier, Todd said it earlier, not forgetting what it's like at the school level, both the principal and the teacher level. And I would want to see that passion for that we don't, you haven't lost sight of what the main thing is, why we're all here, what we're all trying to do. Thanks.
All right, central office.
Same thing. I would say the same thing. I went to central office, to remember what it's like to be at the school level, both principal and teacher, and to continue to have that passion for doing this job and not to lose sight of the main thing, why we're here at the school, but why we're here at the central office. It could, a lot of us talked about, a lot of you guys talked about, the paperwork and all that comes with it. Easy sometimes, I think, to get lost in all the weeds of everything, but I think always keeping it focused on our students' success.
Kara, talk to us.
For those who are going to be a teacher, my strongest advice is remember who you serve. You serve the kids, and they are your primary focus at all times. The other thing is you work on a team. So you have to be a good teammate. All of our teachers are on a grade level team, and you all work together in order to do what's best for kids. And I think that's really important. I don't think that's really stressed. I've been interviewing for the last several years, going and recruiting teachers, and I don't think that's being really stressed well by teacher prep programs, that teachers work on a grade level team. I think they start to see it in student teaching, but they don't really talk about it in the teacher prep programs. That's something that new teachers really have to understand, that you work on teams. For those going to central office, my biggest advice is you have multiple stakeholders and you have to know who they are, and you have to make sure you service all of them. As a teacher, I just had to really know about parents, and then I knew about the kids and, the building principal. But when you're in central office, you have the community who do not have kids sometimes in the district. Those are a major stakeholder that you have to kind of pay attention to. And so that would be my advice. My second piece of advice going into central office is be a fearless leader. Like, try. Even if you fail, if you try to do something that's best for everyone, it's better than if you didn't try at all. Also, the accountability piece. That is huge, being in the central office position. By being a fearless leader, you're willing to hold those critical conversations of holding people accountable. And I know now a lot of people like to talk about it, and I know too many central office administrators who avoid it. But if you don't hold people accountable, you're not doing what's best for kids.
Exactly. And from the top chair on top, Mr. Chris.
Yeah, I love the fact that Tara just said critical conversations. I don't let my folks call them hard conversations. We call them critical conversations. We firmly believe that. So I'll start with central office. I want folks that come in and have some good, solid teacher experience, because just like Todd said, I want them to remember who they are and why they're there. And my advice to those guys is, if you're looking at central office and you're looking at it as an escape from the classroom or an escape from campus level, then quit applying, because you're doing it for the wrong reason, and you're going to burn out in a year and be miserable because this job's difficult. Your stakeholder, your circle gets really, really big, and now it just multiplies how many people are going to come and let you know. My fun saying is, hey, poop rolls uphill, right? And that's the way it should roll. That you get to deal with more problems the higher up you go. And so for central office, it's just that. Be prepared to own it. And we don't let that's a big thing in my office and my crew is like, hey, we're going to own it. And we're going to give out a lot of praise, and we're going to take the stuff, if it went wrong, that's our fault. We missed something. So if you're not good with ownership and you're not good with, sitting on a hot seat sometimes, then central office probably not for you, right? And make sure it's not because, man, I hated teaching, because I know if that's the case, then you won't work for me, and I won't hire you. So if you're a great person, come on, and you love kids, come on. Teacher wise, it's the same way. They said it. You got to have a heart for kids. We set up our interviews to try to figure out what your heart looks like. We have a teacher profile here in Quitman ISD that we follow, and we say, look, if you can't do these 5 things, then you can't come be a Bulldog. And that's a hard time when we have everybody here feels teacher shortage. And the one thing that we've kind of put a line in the sand is we're not going to move our standard off the quality of person we're going to hire. And that, we believe, is going to cause people to come and want to work here. And I'll brag on my district, because this is what it's about, right? Is we're one hire away from being fully staffed in the first week of May, right? So I'm pumped. We have great people, great teachers. So if you don't have a heart for kids, you're in trouble. You better show that in your interview. Why are you here? And then the other one that everyone kind of hit on is, as a teacher, you're going to have to be flexible. If you're really rigid and you're like, hey, no, this is the day I'm doing this, man, you're gonna be week 2 in, and there's gonna be an announcement that, oh, we forgot to do our fire drill, and something's gonna have to pivot, and here we go. Or, hey, we forgot to tell you so and so was here to do a presentation. Everybody go to the auditorium. So you got to be flexible. You got to love kids, and if you don't have some of all these qualities that all these great leaders just said, man, this is gonna be a difficult job. And I always tell people, education is a hard job when you're called to it. I think it's impossible if you're not. So
I'm actually thinking about all you guys said, and I absolutely love it. I mean, I've been in education for almost 30 years now, and that's the type of leader I want to work for. Someone who empowers, who accepts ownership, who creates a collaborative effort across the board and celebrates the hell out of the great stuff that happens within your buildings, but not afraid to have. And I love that critical conversation. That's a lot better. I love the sound of that because that takes away from the actual issue. It talks about what you believe in. And I think that's super important. Speaking about super important, guys, podcasts and conferences, and we're going to do this in about, each one of you have about 1 minute to do this. Okay. How do you see podcasts and conferences as the new way of, conferences have always been there, but podcasts are everywhere right now. You can get free professional development on the fly like this. Okay. Talk to me about your thoughts on this. Todd, why don't you start off?
If you're not involved, then you're behind. That's really the key. You make time for what's important to you and what's valuable to you. And while we don't have any time, our own professional development is so key. Oftentimes as administrators and leaders, we pour into so many other people, we don't pour into ourselves. And so podcasts, while it may be, stuff like this, which is energizing and exciting after a tough baseball loss that I had, which grounds me to get me back to what I need to do tomorrow. It could be a different podcast about, just something I enjoy. The TV show, The Sopranos. I mean, I'm listening to a podcast on them, and it's just, so I think podcasts are really probably your next wave. I read an article the other day that said, do we need to go to conferences and spend, $300 a night on a hotel and all these kind of travel things, and when there's other things that can be done this way? And so I really think if we're not getting involved and we're not seeking it, then we're going to be left behind. And then when we're left behind, the kids are going to suffer and the staff.
Well said. Roy.
I personally think that the whole podcasting virtual conference wave is here to stay. Again, with COVID, it caused us to all pivot and to think outside of the box when it comes to education. Just simple things that you were doing face to face, you really had to build some systems to figure out how that looks online. And one of those traditional things, face to face conferences that we are all used to, the ASCD or the NAESP conferences, you go and you get all the informational sessions. So again, COVID caused us to pivot to virtual, but I see a benefit in it because now you have a lot of these larger conferences, they see the capabilities. So now you not only have you have that physical reach, but you can have that global reach with educators all over the world by going through of creating your podcast or your virtual conference. I personally love the benefit of it. Like, for example, now being able to network with all of you and just listen to the nuggets of knowledge that all of you are sharing and saying, okay, yeah, it's just kind of helping to reaffirm or reconnect things that I already knew, or some new points. And so it's just an awesome thing with the networking. But again, I think the whole podcasting and virtual conference thing is here to stay. And it's a cost saver too, especially for districts, from a district perspective.
Agreed, Roy. Well said. Tara.
I would have to agree with what everyone said. I absolutely love podcasts and I love virtual conferences for the sheer fact that sometimes they're recorded and I can then listen to them at my leisure. And that is what I love. The other thing is I'm a true believer that we are all students of our profession. So we should always be learning to be better. And that's why I love virtual conferences and podcasts, because with that, I don't have to leave my building. I don't have to, take time off to go. Instead, I can still be at work and I can still be learning. And that is one of the things I love. Also, I have an hour drive to work and an hour drive home. So I listen to a lot of podcasts during that time, and that's what I do.
Okay, well, that hour drive, I'm stuck on that for a second, both ways. Chris.
Yeah, I think, in a time where 20 years ago, you had to drive to meet folks, and if you were lucky, you got a great mentor that grabbed a hold of you and said, hey, this is how leadership looks. And And now, I laugh because I just got done watching Good Will Hunting with my wife a couple days ago. And one of the things he said is, hey, I went to the public library and that cost me $1.50 to your Harvard education. Well, that's the day and age we live in, right? Is I get to hone my skill as a leader by listening to John Maxwell every day, or being able to do this right here. And there's no excuse for us to not connect with other great leaders and learn from them. That excuse has been removed. It can't be, well, I don't have $1,000 to go to this conference. Well, wait and find it, and it's going to get posted somewhere, right? All we have to do is be learners and seek knowledge and get excited about, to me, public education is one of the greatest things that we can do for the world that we live in, the town you live in, the city you live in. All you got to do is go look for it, and it's out there. So jump in with 2 feet.
Love it. Andrew.
Yeah, I think you guys said it all about the podcast. A lot of great information out there. A lot of great way to connect. I also like using Twitter a little bit differently, but I feel like that's been a great connection. A lot of good professional learning networks to develop from there. Gonna also, since you guys did a great job with the podcast, just gonna say I do like going to conferences. Not a lot, but I feel like that connection you make in person, even outside of maybe one of the classes, seminar, can be really powerful. Also, I wouldn't have the same lighting problems I'm having here in my room right now. But NASP is up here in DC for if anybody wants to come, real close to me. But it'll be a great trip for you. And VASP is right down in Virginia Beach. So if you want to come see the beach a little bit further for us. But a great example is right before this tonight. The Michigan Association asked me to lead their Twitter chat at 8:00. So I was able to do that, get those questions out, do that, be done about 8:30, and get ready for this. So there's a lot of power and benefit into a lot of the tools we are using now.
Good stuff right there too. Hey, Josh, you still buying your clothes at Montgomery Ward?
I should get my beta tape, bro. I should get my beta tape, all right? You're talking to the wrong social media guy right here.
My 8-track friend right here. Come on.
Here we go, guys. Real quick, like literally real quick. There's a freshman in college right now thinking whether or not to be a teacher. A piece of advice for that person to join our beautiful field, and how can people get a hold of you? Chris.
Yeah, if you're a freshman and you're on the fence, I'll tell you, you're not going to find a better purpose in life other than being a teacher. It will fulfill you. It will sustain you. It's not about a paycheck. It's about the relationships that you'll never, ever be able to compare it to anything else. I promise you that. It's amazing. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't think how lucky I am to say that I'm an educator. You can get a hold of me. Twitter, you can email me at masonc@quitmanisd.net. If you're a teacher and you need a job and you're passionate about education, holler at me. I'll steal you from any school.
Boom.
I second what Chris said. If you are thinking about education, there is not a more noble profession that you could possibly enter. What I didn't say in the beginning is I actually was an attorney for 5 years before I switched into education. And I have never looked back and said, God, I wish I would have still been an attorney. I use those skills every single day as when I was a teacher and now as an administrator. And I love what I do. And if you are thinking about it, please contact me on Twitter, on Facebook, or my email address is tcrystal@dist13.org. I will be more than happy to talk to you about everything that education has to offer. One of the things I like to tell new people coming into the profession is there's more than just being a teacher. You could be a speech pathologist. You could be a school nurse. You could be a social worker. There are all these related professions that help in education. So if you're thinking, yeah, the classroom isn't for me, I'll be more than happy to talk to you about other options that you can explore and still be a part of this profession.
Love it. Andrew.
Yeah, best job there is. It's definitely hard, definitely challenging. There are days you're going to probably go home maybe close to tears, but it's the best job. And if you want to get a hold of me, probably Twitter is probably the best thing to do because you can just use my name right there and go at Andrew Bookite and get a hold of us. But I hope you do it. I'm lucky I get to teach a course at one of our universities up here, and that's the kind of message I try to pass on to our students as well. It's just it's a great job. Get in there. You're never going to be forgotten by the people that you're teaching.
Love it, Roy.
For anybody that's considering getting an education, I'd say life is about giving back. And I think there's no profession more honorable than being a teacher or assistant principal, central office person, because, when you help children, it lights that fire. You feel a sense of achievement, accomplishment, joy, all of those things. Yeah, you will have some days that you might feel a tear coming down your face every now and then. But the joyful days will most definitely outweigh those type of challenging days. You can get in contact with me. I'm on LinkedIn, Roy Pope, PhD. You can email me at info@edguru.co. That's info@edguru.co. And what we want to most definitely say is to any of those people that are principals, assistant principals, assistant superintendents with large networks. Me and my wife, we designed our platform because educators are underpaid, I think globally, so I'm an advocate for that. So anybody that wants to earn some additional passive income, hey, just reach out to us.
Todd, future author, that book coming out in a couple of months.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's either going to be a bestseller or the worst Christmas gift ever because I'm going to give it to everybody. Best advice I give, most kids that are graduating today from most public schools, definitely in Churchill High School, they're empathetic and they're worldly, and they're concerned about global issues, and they're concerned about community. And I would tap into that to say, hey, this is a great way to give back. And I would tap in to say, this is just a way to give back to your community, your state, is to come back home, teach at a place that you had a good experience at, and you want to continue that. You can reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm on here. Best way is probably Twitter at Bloomer_SA. But I'd really just say it's just a wonderful profession. And if we can land you at Churchill, we take care of people. I would say that all the time. I think Chris said we steal from each other. We're cannibalizing from each other right now. It's not a good thing, to be honest with you, but we're cannibalizing from each other right now as far as taking teachers. But I like to think we're a true family. I know it's a cliche and people say that, but I really think we take care of people. We make sure that they're valued. We cut the red tape and we allow them to just do what they're supposed to do, which is teach. And so if we can get you on our campus and you can love our kids, this is just a great place. And I'd encourage people to come back as freshmen and sophomore and juniors and seniors and shadow and observe and hang out and really just kind of see what they could do. And you could get into teaching. I think Tara said that. There's a lot of other things besides just teaching. You could be a coach, you could be a sponsor, and then all of a sudden you just got the best of both worlds when it comes to that. So still a great profession, and I would highly encourage it to any of my own children and any kids graduating from Churchill today.
Awesome. And there you have it. Hey, Dean, I think we had Jumbo. We did a dive on 2, and we scored a touchdown. We scored a touchdown, and we won the game today. We got your back, Todd. Positive thoughts. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Make sure you spread that knowledge to everybody out there. But, hey, Dean, it's not over. This Sunday, the flagship show. We've got Jonathan Crawford and Carl Sorenberg. If you want to learn about in-school suspension or not to do it, come and join us this Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We scored a touchdown on the red zone.
We sure did. Hey, on behalf of Todd, Roy, Tara, Chris, Andrew, and Josh, you guys out there, have a great week. Remember, we do what we do for the benefit of every kid that goes through our doors. Don't ever forget that. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. Thanks for being with us. Panel, stay on for a moment if you can. That's all. Have a great week, everybody.